Here's what went wrong with Zelda in Super Smash Bros. This video is no way me trying to make an excuse to dunk on the character. She's already had it hard enough on a lot of the tier lists. I've dabbled with Zelda in the past and she's one of my pocket characters in Smash Ultimate, and I have experience with playing PM Zelda, which obviously takes Zelda in a different direction archetype wise, and I've played Zelda because I secondary Sheik in that game, where co-maining Zelda and Sheik is more of a viable thing than other official Smash games like maybe Melee or Brawl. First off, I think Zelda is a character who has a lot of potential but simply has been given a bad hand when it came to the attempts to balance the character, where they simply didn't give Zelda enough in order to keep up with the other characters in the cast. And then there's versions of the character where I feel like they didn't really understand how to balance her at all, and they sort of just failed the purpose of her archetype. For those who don't remember, Zelda and Sheik were interconnected with each other, where they could down special and switch to the other character. However, their transform mechanic was terrible. They truly never figured out how to balance it until Smash Ultimate, where they made Pyra and Mythra the champion of the previous Zelda and Sheik archetype. Sakurai has mentioned in interviews back during Zelda's inclusion in Melee that Zelda and Sheik were designed to be foils of each other, which if you don't know anything about Melee's tier list, it shows how ironic that statement is. Sheik is a top tier character and Zelda is a bottom tier character. Now why is this the case? Sakurai mentions Sheik was initially designed to be the weaker, faster character, while you would have to switch to Zelda because she has the stronger KO attacks but is much slower. That was the idea of the character on paper. Both are literal opposites of each other, except not really, at least in Melee. Sheik is actually faster than Zelda and just as strong in her own right, completely overshadowing Zelda's slower, laggy, and punishable moves. Zelda's wave dash and dash dance are slow, Zelda is very light, her special moves are gimmicky and they lack strength, unless you're transforming into Sheik, I know. We will actually revisit the failures of the transform mechanic in a moment. Her main boon is her aerials when sweet spotted are stronger, being most notably her forward air and back air. Her grab range is pretty bad. She lacks defensive options that allow her to escape out of combos, which means she can be easily shut down and comboed. And because Zelda has trouble approaching because of her lackluster speed, that means she doesn't have a lot of options to deal with projectiles. Even Nehru's Love is too laggy to be used consistently. It's really funny how Zelda is supposed to be the stronger character, but then here's Sheik with bread and butter combo confirms, and Sheik has plenty of strong moves like forward air, down smash, up air, up smash, whatever. They clearly did the opposite of what they wanted to do with the character, and you can tell as Sheik was heavily nerfed in Brawl and would lose a lot of her KO power, so even Sakurai sort of realized the mistake. Unfortunately, Zelda didn't receive the same amount of love. Pun intended, because Nehru's Love is an attack. Okay, sorry. The reason why I compared Melee Zelda Sheik to Pyra and Mythra in Smash Ultimate is because it just shows how much the OG Zelda Sheik archetype failed. Sure, it was a cool idea, but people ended up just mostly sticking to the character that they liked the most. That ended up being Sheik, because Sheik is the more competitive character. And sure, there are situations in which you can use Zelda in Melee. There's some people who decide to even main Zelda, and I respect you. But it's such an upward battle because there isn't a lot of positives going on for Zelda. In fact, if you want to see how big of a difference the viability between Pyra and Mythra and Zelda and Sheik and Melee is, yeah. Pyra and Mythra is a top 3 character in Smash Ultimate. They did this by actually making both characters equally viable and true inverses of each other. They didn't make Pyra too slow, they didn't make Mythra too weak. You can truly use both characters interchangeably. The transform mechanic takes way too long in Melee and Brawl. It takes too much time to switch in between each character, and you can easily just punish Zelda or Sheik mid-transformation. Just look at how fast it is in Smash Ultimate for Pyra and Mythra. It's kind of funny how slow it was back in Melee and Brawl. Speaking of Brawl, Brawl Zelda is like if we took Melee Zelda and did absolutely nothing to make the character better. And that might sound harsh, but that's literally where Zelda ended up viability-wise, again. Sure, they did give Zelda more KO power in the Brawl version. Her moves even got plenty of damage buffs. They even buffed her out of shield options and fixed the SDI on her attacks. However, I have no idea why they did this. They gave her plenty of nerfs. Yes, by making her already light character even lighter, meaning she dies earlier in Brawl. Her ability to KO is still terrible even after the buffs. They lowered her gravity, which is going to make her even floatier. This is kind of consistent with the rest of the cast in Brawl. They increased her walk speed, dash speed, however, these were mostly marginal buffs, as they clearly didn't change the character's viability that much. It's like if a car needed an oil change and you put a drop of oil in it and sent it on its way. They didn't fix the actual problems of the character. Like, maybe increasing her speed a little bit more and not making her as slow and risky to use would be nice. Her combo game has been severely nerfed, leaving her with barely any combo potential on most of her moves. Her up throw chain grab was completely removed, and also they made it so she couldn't really do follow-ups with her down throw anymore. Din's Fire is still super punishable, and it remains as a niche tool instead of something that could have been way better. Transform is still flawed in Brawl, it takes way too long, and even Sheik is a weaker character in this game. Obviously things would brighten up for Sheik in Smash 4 as they would permanently separate Zelda and Sheik from each other, which I wonder how this is going to change them. Oh god, just buckle in, this is gonna get spicy. Here's what's funny. In Smash 4 they decided to revisit characters like Sheik and Zelda and give them new special moves now that they have a free down special slot. What's ironic is Sheik would get a slew of buffs, and finally we get moves that had more KO power, being more notably the new side special and new down special that Sheik would receive. Yes, they removed the terrible chain attack after realizing the move just wasn't that good in concept, and I respect that decision. These buffs would make Sheik one of the best characters in all of Smash 4, a top level threat throughout Smash 4's whole lifespan. And the new moves were actually useful because they actually gave Sheik the potential the character was missing in Brawl. These buffs made Sheik rank even higher than the melee version of the character. Yes, and I know the games are completely different metas, but that's how big these changes were for the Sheik, making her 4th currently in the Smash 4 tier list. When the DLC characters didn't exist, Sheik was actually a top 2 character in the game. Now some of you might be saying, why are you bringing up Sheik at this point? Well, I brought up the character because not only were both Zelda and Sheik were designed together all the way back in Melee, they decided to separate the characters and were willing to give Sheik a slew of buffs on top of this. What did they give Zelda? Yeah, about that. Sheik was given the kitchen sink of buffs that define the character for the better, and Zelda was given Phantom Slash. Okay, not trying to dump on the concept of this move, it's a nice Spirit Tracks reference, but as far as utility for the move goes, it's a joke compared to what Sheik was given. Phantom Slash takes a significant period of time to charge. Pretty easy to predict when this move is coming out. It's very flawed. Yes, it can be rewarding for controlling space and you can kill with it, but the move is not on the same level of what Sheik was given with Bouncing Fish. And you know what I'm saying? When you need to give Zelda a meta-defining move, you really do need to give her a meta-defining move, and this just isn't it. Side B has the same problem that the move has been cursed with since Melee. The Smash 4 version of the character fell into the same issues as the Brawl version, as they just did not give Zelda enough buffs, being the second worst character of all time in Smash 4. The major flaw of this version of the character is still relatively the same as the previous versions of Zelda, being slow, laggy, and easy to punish, having lackluster tools at dealing with pressure, and even the idea of Zelda being quote-unquote strong character isn't really the case anymore, as there's plenty of other characters in Smash 4 that are leagues better than her in KO power. Like, how in the world is Zelda gonna keep up with Bayonetta and Cloud? They're just not on the same level. I feel more than ever that this time period of Zelda was easily the most missed opportunity of the character, as they really didn't do that much to truly fix her at all. And yeah, if you do the math, she's been a bottom 2 character for literally 2 games in a row. In Melee, she was bottom 3, so yeah, it's not looking good. Until Smash Ultimate, right? This is the part of the video where it turns around and Zelda becomes a top tier character. Oh my god, Zelda is better than Steve. Oh my god, kidding. Okay, to be real, they did actually decide to buff Zelda correctly this time around in Smash Ultimate, not just competitively but cosmetically as well, as they finally ditched that Brawl design, giving her a brand new model and animations, which these things don't affect her competitively, but I'm on board for because it showed how much they cared. In fact, the Smash Ultimate version of the character is the best version of Zelda competitively, but not by a lot, unfortunately. I actually experimented with maining Zelda when the game came out, and I personally was on board for the changes they gave to Zelda. First off, they finally, and I mean finally, made her faster, like it's about time. And no, it's not like Brawl where they increased her speed marginally. They actually respectfully increased her speed, and Zelda definitely benefits from the 3-frame jump squat that characters universally got in Smash Ultimate. They reduced the lag on a lot of her attacks, increased her KO power, and finally gave her speed buffs to things like her aerials, and they significantly were made faster than the Smash 4 version of these moves, most notably her neutral air. They improved her grab game, especially by by significantly buffing her grab range and utility on a lot of her throws. Even her lackluster special moves were buffed, like Nehru's Love getting faster startup and tangibility and maintaining momentum in the air. Din's Fire no longer makes Zelda go into an helpless state off stage. Yes, this was incredibly dumb in previous Smash games. If you use Din's Fire off stage, I don't know why you would, because this move is so terrible, but if you did, you would fall and die if you weren't near the stage. Yeah. Her up special has much faster startup, and it means you can actually use it on stage as an out of shield option, which I really love this change because I think the idea of this move being quicker definitely melds well with Zelda's more keep away aspects of her moveset. You can even KO with this move, which I never thought I would ever see to this day, but it's really cool idea to be honest. Even Phantom Slash, which I dunked on it before, actually got some nice buffs as the move was heavily tweaked as they boosted its speed, making the move come out faster, and Zelda can actually move when the move is unleashed, which really opens up the possibilities for linking up combos into Phantom Slash. They decrease the cooldown as well if it's destroyed, so these are nice buffs. They improved her KO potential by fixing some of her hitboxes and sweet spots, most notably on forward smash. Her tilts thankfully got buffs, most notably their range and hitbox duration in some instances like up tilt or F tilt getting a knockback buff. She did get some nerfs like down tilt getting a range nerf. Her grabs that were already pretty slow were given more startup. Honestly, this version of Zelda feels like what the character was supposed to be long ago. We are finally at the point where Zelda is out of being bottom 3, however that isn't saying much as she's still bottom 8. Still, there's a lot of the same weaknesses even in the Smash Ultimate version. Yes, the faster jump squat across the board is nice for Zelda, but her overall speed on the ground is terrible compared to the rest of the cast. Her out of shield options are better in this game, but they're still pretty flawed. We still to this day have Zelda as a pretty slow and lightweight character. Her hitbox placements, even on Smash Ultimate's version of the character, are still a hindrance as her sour spots are pretty large on her Fair and Bear to this day. When the game came out, people actually thought Zelda was going to be a mid-tier character, but as the years went by, her polarizing moveset that has kind of cursed the character in a way. Even when it was buffed, it truly was not enough to take Zelda out of being a low tier. Yes, the Smash Ultimate version of Zelda is the best version of the character, it's just not by a lot, unfortunately, which is sad because I personally would really like to see a high tier Zelda. She's still a viable character in Smash Ultimate's really close-knit cast, so if you want to play her, no matter what game it is, be my guest. We all play Smash here, but I think it would be really fun to see maybe a even better version of Zelda. Thank you guys for watching the video. There is always early content available on Patreon and for channel members. Check out the link down below. You also get access to the Honest Content Discord. Hopefully you guys are doing well. You guys have a good day.